another episode of Cooking with Mickey. Today we're going to be making Walt Disney's own chili and beans. Now, chili is one of my favorite things to make. It's so versatile. There are literally thousands of types of chili, from white bean chicken chili, Texas chili, no bean chili, chili con carne, vegetarian chili, the list goes on and on. However, today we are going to be making Walt Disney's personal recipe for chili and beans. So let's get started. This recipe starts off using 2 pounds of dry pinto beans. You're going to wash and sort the beans and then soak them overnight in cold water, which, as you can see, I've already done. Now, we're going to drain our beans. Now that we've drained the beans, we're going to be cooking them in a saucepan. And we're going to cover them with water until it's about 2 inches over the top of the beans. This recipe calls for 2 medium onions sliced. So we're going to start off taking outside of our onion off. The easiest way to do that is just to cut off one end and then start pulling pieces away. Okay, now that we have all of our onions sliced, we can add this in with the beans. And we'll start cooking this. We're going to let this cook over medium heat for about 2 hours covered. While our pot is cooking, we're going to start on the rest of our recipe. It calls for 2 cloves of minced garlic, and I find it easy to remove the skins by just crushing the garlic. And then I just run my knife through it to make sure that there's no large pieces. So we're going to turn our pan on medium and add about 1/4 cup of oil. Add in our garlic. And we're going to cook our garlic until it's slightly browned. While our garlic is browning, we will chop our celery. This recipe calls for 1 cup of chopped celery. Now, I had heard that Walt was such a fan of chili that whenever he would travel, he would pack in his suitcase several cans of Hormel chili. And I've also read that Hormel was the first corporate sponsor at Disneyland. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's what I've read. Okay, so we've got our garlic nice and browned. Add in our 1 cup of celery. And this calls for 2 pounds of lean ground beef. It doesn't have to be lean ground beef. You can use any ground beef you can find. You can even use pork, chicken, or turkey instead. But Walt made his with beef. So that's how we're making it today. Now that our meat is browned, we're going to add in a teaspoon of thyme, paprika, and chili powder. For those of you that like your spicy, you can add as much as you like. Another thing to do is to add some kind of hot pepper, which is what I really like to do. I often add a habanero into my chili when I make it. I like my food really spicy. However, if you're making a really large pot of chili, the habanero won't be anywhere near as spicy as you would think it would be. But you could add ancho chilies, jalapenos, serranos, any kind of hot pepper you like to add. Now we're going to add in 28 ounces of whole tomatoes, which we're going to break up with a spoon before we throw these in. Now, as I said before, chili is one of my favorite things to make when it's cold outside. Soon as the leaves start to turn brown and the air gets crisp and cool outside, I am ready for chili. Now, for most, that means the start of like football season. Not for me. It means that hockey season is right around the corner. So I get very excited. So we're just going to stir in these tomatoes. And we're going to let this simmer for 1 hour. So by the time these are done, so will our beans be. And we've got to cover it. Now that our beans are tender, we're going to add in our meat mixture. For variation on this recipe, instead of the water, you could use stock or add a bouillon cube or bouillon base to it. That'll give it a little more of that meaty flavor. Oh, this smells so good. I can smell the onions and the tomatoes. Once we get all of this mixture in there, we're going to salt and pepper to taste. And that's where you'll add any additional seasoning that it needs. You'll want to taste it, see if it needs some more chili powder, paprika, or any other spices that you want to add to it. Go ahead and stir this in. Ooh, they're hot. It needs more salt. Oh, I'll add a little more pepper too while we're at it. Okay, now that we've added our seasonings, we'll put the lid back on the chili and let this cook for another 30 minutes. That way all the flavors will mesh together better. Our chili's now done, so it's time to eat. Ah, it smells so good. After spending so much time smelling this, I am ready to eat. Now, some people like to top their chili with some cheese, some like sour cream. You could put hot sauce in it. From what I read online, Walt liked to eat his chili with soda crackers. However, I am just going to eat mine plain today. Okay, now it's time for a taste. It's good. Not as spicy as I like my chili, but then again, this is Walt Disney's recipe, and they say this is how he likes his chili. On a cool, crisp fall day, I like to have beer with my chili. And today I'm having a Beta Harvest, which is a nice fall beer. It has a hint of pecan to it, so I thought, what better than a fall beer to have with fall chili? That's all for this episode. For this recipe and others, please visit srsounds.com and go to the forums. Until next time, I'm Kristen, this is Nikki, and we'll see you real soon.